Alright, two hands here. We're going to start with pocket tens. This is a 4 NL game. So I open raise and villain 11 calls. He's at running 25 21 with 25% 3 bet. And it's just a small blind that call. So let's put together a range here that I think he would call. I only have 28 hands on him, so we kind of have to be aware that he might not be as loose as he looks, or he might actually be looser than what his stats suggest. I will say that based on these stats, he probably would have 3-bet queens plus ace king. Excuse me, maybe a few more. Just because he's got 25% pre-flop raise, 25% 3-bet. I'm sorry, 21% pre-flop raise, 25% 3-bet. So just in the 28 hands he had, maybe he's gotten lucky, or maybe he has actually had those hands. So we see a flop with tens, and the board comes queen of clubs, 4 of hearts, 4 of spades. So he checks. I think he checks with his entire range, and now I bet. Now of the hands that he bets, I think really he's going to be calling with all of his pairs, pair plus. And then we also have to decide if he's going to call with his aces. And I think I see a lot of people call with ace-high hands on a board like this, because not only is it likely to miss him, it's also likely to miss me. So I think he would probably call with the ace-highs. Now, will he call with 2-card backdoor flush draws? If you look at all of his 2-card backdoor flush draws, it's a lot of cards. I'm not sure if he's going to call with all of them. Maybe he will only call with his ace-high, or maybe even the king-high backdoor flush draws. I'm not going to include them. I think I'll just include the ace highs. So I bet, and he calls. So he calls 62% of the time. And with that call, we're at 57% equity. Turns 2 hearts. I don't think that's really going to change much. And he checks. And our question is, if we bet here, what's going to call us? I do think top pairs are going to call us. I think flush draw is going to call us. I think gut shot might call us, but I think we're going to fold out most of the pocket pair, below top pair, and the weak pair, and the ace high hands. I think that's what we're going to fold out, and those are the hands that we can really beat. We can't beat anything else that calls. So I think at this time, while we could bet and generate a lot of folds, and we buy some of that equity, it's not like we're buying a lot of equity. We're buying the equity from those ace high hands. So I think the checking is probably going to be okay here, and we'll see what develops on the river. All right, so I did just check, so we're going to have 100% of his range going ahead, and the ace of clubs hits. I think that's probably the card that I wanted to see the least, and maybe that's the reason that would argue for betting that turn. I think now he checks, and it's on us, and you have to think what hands are going to call if we bet. I honestly don't think these middle pairs are going to call, so our bet really isn't going to be a bet for value. Do I think top pair is going to fold? Probably not. I'll say the middle pair queens might call, but the weak pairs, the jacks down to fives and the threes, they won't call, and we're trying to get value from those. So I don't think this would be a value bet if we bet. I honestly don't think we're going to get called by anything that we beat. So I check, and I actually like that check. He shows ace-8 of heart, ace-8 of spades. That's a top pair hand. Do we have that in his range? Yeah, we do. So he called with that ace high, caught the ace on the river, and instead of betting again, we just took our showdown value hand and see that he caught that 3 outer on us. All right, so this is hand number 1, and let me close this out and get hand number 2. All right, hand number 2 is pocket tens on the button. This is a 10 NL game. I open race to 3 big blinds. You can see that I started with about 30, which is unusual for me. It's possible, most likely, that the hand before I lost sizable part of my stack, and I didn't get a chance to top off before the start of this hand. So I open raise with tens 10 of hearts, 10 of diamonds, and I get an unknown villain to call. So I don't know anything about this villain. I don't have any stats on him. So all that I could do is base it on the general population. So with the general population from the big blind, I think most people are going to be playing this range. This offsuit aces is questionable. I'm going to take queens plus an ace king out because I think those would 3-bet. I think almost all players will 3-bet those. Some will actually just cold call or call here and try to be tricky. But I think this is kind of a pretty wide range for the big blind. I mean, it's only two big blinds for him, and he closes the action, so he could have this. He may actually have a wider range than this. May have some of these offsuit connectors too. So flop comes down, queen of clubs, jack of hearts, 8 of hearts. We have the 10 of hearts, so we know we block it. So we flopped a pair, middle pair, and a gut shot. So villain 6 checks. I think he's going to check probably with his entire range. If he don't bets, most likely he's going to have some sort of queen there. He's saying if I have the queen, maybe he might actually have a jack as well. So I fire a 2/3 pot, which I think is standard. I think we've got equity in this hand, even though a lot of cards are going to be calling here. We block the 10, so it's not very likely that he's going to have a 9-10, but he could have a heart, could be calling with an 8-9, jack 9 maybe, 7, it's your 7-9. We're just being aggressive because I think with the 10s, if we catch a 9, we're probably going to get paid off. He's not going to give us credit for a 10, at least 2 10s. Now, when he called, what is he going to call with? I think when he sets up this call, we can have the flush draw. I think we'll give him the cut shot, the open-ended straight draw. I think we're probably not going to have the ace-high hands in there anymore. I think we'll do the weak pair, pocket pair, top pair. I think all of those cards. Now, are there any cards that would have raised? Yeah, I think 2 pairs going to raise. I think a set is going to raise. I think a straight is probably just going to call here and look to see what happens on the turn, believe it or not. But, I mean, it seems counterintuitive. Why would you raise with 2 pair in a set but not a straight? I think the straight is just, they view it as more powerful, more opportunity to slow play. Over pair, I don't have any of that in his range, so I've got him calling just now at 56.6%. 8 of diamonds hits, and he checks. Now, pot's 15.1 big blinds. I have 22.4. So if I bet, I think my only option is really to shove here. I don't think I could bet small and get away from it. At least if I was this guy and you know, the button bet small, bet half pot. If I had top pair and some sort of draw, I think I'm gonna probably just get them all in. I don't want to be faced with the decision of whether or not I'm going to call that river, especially if a heart comes, because that may get the button to fold when he would have called, you know, with a jack, with an ace jack, or with a jack 10 or something like that. So I do think we should probably bet here, and we should probably shove. But I didn't do that. I just checked, so it leaves his entire range in his hand on the river card, which is a 2 of clubs. So he now bets 7.5, and the question is, what is he going to bet? I think once I checked here, I opened myself up to being bet into, and I think there could be a large number of hands that are going to bet into me. So I do think when we look at the pairs, the weak pairs, the 10s and 9s and all those, may be betting. We'll set those at a low, let's say 25% chance that he bets. The middle pair and the top pair might be betting. Middle pair will set it at like 50%. Top pair is probably always going to bet. except there we go. Top pair, I think, is always going to bet, and they're always going to probably bet 7.5%. I think two pair, three of a kind could bet here with an 8. Full house could bet here that much. Full house may go higher, but I mean, just with those bets, I'm looking at 11%. Ace high, if we throw an ace high, I improved to 34%. So he bets half pot, which means I need like 25% equity just to call. Yeah, if he's gonna bet this with ace high, I could call. If he's gonna bet much more frequently with those weak pairs, I can call. But I think with those weak pairs and those middle pairs, he has a showdown ready hand. So I think those are probably you could almost remove those from consideration and instead possibly even the top pair, and instead think that if he's going to make a play like this, it's going to be with like an ace high hand and all of his great hands, which gives us 55%. Now we have the equity to call, but does it make sense at the micro limits? Is a player like this going to consider balancing the ranges? Probably not. I think that with this bet, how he called pre-flop and then called the flop bet and now leads into us, I think we're looking at a queen or a jack. I really do think that's what we're looking at. So we're going to throw pocket pairs and middle pairs in there and say that I think this is the range that we're looking at. And we can't beat that, so we should just fold. I didn't fold, I called. And he shows jack 5. So is jack 5 in his range? Nope. I didn't have it to start off, so jack 5 is right there. If he called with jack 5, he's probably also calling with all of these. At least all of these. Maybe all suited. And now you start seeing how it really changes hand distribution. So on this board now, you've got top pair 20%, middle pair 17.6%. Your cumulative is 57%, 58%. But then when you consider the overpair plus, now you're dealing with weak pair plus is 42.6%. So I think we said I added those two together. I shouldn't have. So it's 42%. Over 42% is going to have hands that beat me. So once he calls, I do think we have to shut down. And when he bets into us on the river, you might think it's an easy call, but I don't think so at the micro stakes. I don't think enough people bluff enough. They lead out enough once you miss that second barrel. So we didn't have jack 5. We had the idea it's queen or jack, but we didn't have that kicker right. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Look tomorrow for a few more hands.